So you've been tasked with setting up a live stream for your church or community group, maybe your kid's club team, or you just want to stream yourself getting some sick dubs. In this video, I'm going to walk you through setting up OBS and getting you prepped for your first stream. Sound good? Then let's dive in. If you're pretty new to live streaming and wondering why I recommend OBS over other live streaming options, check out my last video where I talk about some of the feature sets of OBS and why it's really the only software that you should be looking at using for your live streaming needs. If you haven't yet, head on over to obsproject.com or to the OBS flavor of your choice, download and install the OBS software. Whether you pick vanilla OBS, OBS Live, or Streamlabs OBS, the following steps are all relatively the same, though the UI may vary slightly, but we'll work to cover everything. One of the first things that we need to establish before we get OBS set up is where we're going to stream to. If this hasn't already been decided yet, then now is a great time to get it figured out. While I'm not going to deep dive into all the different services, their various offerings, and the pros and cons of each, here's a quick overview. For church, community, or club sports, where you're primarily looking to share the content with members of the organization, but not necessarily the entire public, streaming to a private Facebook group or to a private YouTube live stream are going to be two of your best options. For something of a more collegiate nature, like maybe a college club team, a team YouTube channel or Facebook page may be well suited. Either can provide a place that parents and fans can come that they're already familiar with, and it makes it easy for them to find. Finally, if you're streaming video games or a podcast, or something else along those lines, platforms like YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook can all be relevant services, though be aware that it's likely the audience that will gravitate to each may vary. So now that OBS is installed, let's go ahead and launch it and start looking through our settings. So jumping into OBS then, there are a few ways we can get into settings. In the bottom right, you'll notice the settings button. We can use that, or we can use the settings found up in the menu dropdown. There's also an auto configuration wizard found under tools if you want to play around with that. I'm going to go ahead and hit the settings button at the bottom right though. In the settings menu, we can see that we have several different options: general, stream, output, audio, video, hotkeys, and advanced. Our stream service settings are found under stream, so let's start there. The first thing we need to do is select our service. For some of these services, when we select it, we'll have the option to provide our account credentials, which will help set up everything for us. However, a few services may require you to provide the stream key manually. If the shortlist doesn't happen to have the service you're looking for in it, you can go ahead and click Show All. This is where you'll find the 50 plus service integrations that are available, and if you still can't find what you're looking for, you can always include it custom with the URL and the stream key. We're going to go ahead and select the YouTube RTMP since that's something we've worked with before. We can click Get Stream Key. That will take us into our YouTube Studio page. We'll just go ahead and say later date, streaming software. If we click on stream, we then get stream settings where we have our stream key. It's already set up for our RTMP stream. And right here is our stream key. Now, I'm not going to show that for somewhat obvious reasons, but we can go ahead and click copy. That will copy our stream key. We can then go back to OBS and we can paste that in. And that's all we have to do. We're now ready to stream to that endpoint. Alternatively, for something like Twitch, if we select Twitch, we can either provide our stream key or we can choose to connect account, which will open up a browser that will connect to Twitch. You can provide your credentials. And with our credentials supplied, we'll go ahead and authorize it. It'll authorize, and it'll grab all the information it needs for us to stream to Twitch. Also nice and handily, they include a enable bandwidth test mode, which basically allows you to hit a different endpoint than your normal one, so you can confirm that everything's actually working without actually going live. Now, YouTube stream keys are an interesting thing. YouTube allows you to use a stream key that'll take you live on your channel at any time. However, YouTube also has a feature that allows you to schedule streams in advance. And these scheduled streams each have their own stream key. This allows you to set up a stream beforehand, share the link for where that stream's going to be, and allow people to plan for your events. So let's say for your organization, you already know that on December 24th at 7 p.m., you're going to have a Christmas devotional that maybe you want to live stream. You can schedule that. Or if your club team, you already have the list of what games you're going to play and you know which ones you'd be able to host yourself, you can schedule each of those streams ahead of time. Something to be aware of though when it comes to scheduled streams. The stream key for a scheduled stream is only good once. What this means is after you've used the key, you're not able to use it again. So if you try to go live with a stream key for a past event, or you accidentally use the wrong one and use a future event, you'd wind up having to recreate that future event because that stream key has already been consumed. So when it comes to scheduled streams on YouTube, double check before you go live that you're using the right stream key. Otherwise, you might wind up with some issues. So that covers most of what we need to cover for streaming. If we look at output, getting our output settings optimized can be a rather involved task. So check the description below for links to videos that break down the available settings for services like YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. We'll not only talk about what settings are supported, but also how to determine which settings may be best for you to use depending on which service you're using, what hardware you have available to you, and so on. For just getting started, let's go ahead and make sure that our output mode is in simple. This gives us the basic settings that we're concerned with right now. We can see that the default video bit rate under our simple is at 2500 kilobits per second. So as long as our upload speed for our internet is above that, we're going to have a good bitrate set here. We can test that by going to speedtest.net. I'm just running the speed test. And this comes back with us having an upload speed of just shy of 17 megabits per second, which would translate to 17,000 kilobits per second. So we're good to go here. So our 2500 is probably going to be okay. We might go ahead and just bump this up to 3000 though, if we're going to be streaming at 1080. For our encoder, depending on how old of a computer you have, you may not have the hardware option available, but double check whether or not you do. If you do have the hardware NVEnc option available, select that. The NVEnc encoder offloads what would otherwise be a CPU intensive task to an area of the GPU specifically designed for encoding video. It's much faster, more efficient, and should perform significantly better than its software counterpart. So we'll pick that. Our audio bitrate we'll just leave the same. And then if you want to record also, you can come in here, you can pick the record path where recorded videos would go, which encoder you want to use, what container you want to use, whether you want it in an MP4, an MOV, what have you. We're not really concerned with that right now, so we can just hit apply on this. Under audio, we have various different audio settings for everything. We're going to go ahead and just disable the desktop audio and mic auxiliary audio. I like to leave these all disabled and include my audio sources individually. I feel like it gives me a bit more control over them. So I'm going to go ahead and swap that. Otherwise, you can go ahead and pick, if you've got speakers that usually play your audio, you want to capture that, you can select those. If you have a microphone, you can go ahead and go in and select your microphone. So however you're kind of wanting to do it, I like to disable mine. The sample rate's fine, channels are fine. Under video, we have our base or our canvas resolution, which is this resolution here, which is where our video is going to go. And then we have our output or scaled resolution, which is the resolution that is going to be sent to our streaming service. So here we've got 1080 for our canvas. We've got 1080 also for what we're going to send to Twitch or YouTube or Facebook. Our downscale filter, we're going to just leave that the same. Your default may vary, and for our FPS, we're going to leave that at 60. We feel pretty good about that. Hotkeys we're not going to worry about, but as you can see in here, we've got a whole host of hotkeys that can be set to control anything from switching scenes to starting our streams, starting and stopping recordings, hiding and showing different video sources, what have you. Lots of cool things we'll get into another time. Lastly, under advanced, there's also a bunch of stuff in here that we're just not going to touch right now because we don't need to. It's not relevant, and if we start messing with too much, we might break something also. So clicking OK, we've got everything pretty well set up for ourselves now that we're just about ready to go. All right, so clicking OK, that gets the most of our settings all ready to go for our first stream. Now this video is getting a bit long at this point, so we're going to go ahead and call it here. In the second part for this, we're going to go ahead and set up our scene, which will include adding an audio source, adding a video source, and kind of walking through some of how you set up your scene. And at that point, we'll be ready to do our first stream. So hang tight for that video if you're looking for that portion. Otherwise, leave a thumbs up if you found this informative. Hit the subscribe and the notification bell to know when new videos go live. And I will see you guys in the next one. So long.